Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about resumes. Your resume is a very important communication tool that gets you in the door. And companies are all the time just flooded with all sorts of different resumes. And whether or not you were called in for an interview, a lot of times is based on a piece of paper. Is it written well? Is it something that captures their attention? Is it something that communicates something well for you? And that is really important. And so I'm going to go over three main things for resumes, and I think that you're going to benefit from it. The first thing is you need to have statistical analysis on your resume. It's so very important. Second thing, and I know this sounds so crazy, but like the top of the professionals all the way down to the bottom, it needs to be you need to make sure that you don't have any spelling errors in your resume. And the third thing is it needs to be communicated really clearly, and it needs to be able to tell people what it is that you do well. So we're going to go over these three things and see if this helps you out a little bit. Before I get started, I want to tell you a quick little story, and it's about somebody who literally has like 15 years of experience in their field, and they are at a top level manager role. Okay, they make about $100,000 a year, and they lost their job due to some downsizing the other day, and they sent me their resume, and they wanted me to send it out for them. And so I sent it to my receptionist, and I was like, hey, listen, this is a great candidate. They are awesome. They're exactly what we need, and they're exactly what our client needs. We need to get it over. So I sent it over to her. I was like, get everything prepared, make sure it looks really great, and let's send it out. And you know what? We're talking about a $100,000 a year person who sent me their resume, and I swear to you, they had at least 20 spelling errors and grammatical errors throughout the entire thing. I couldn't believe it myself. Thing is, I'd worked with this person and I knew how great they were. But our receptionist came over to me and she said, there is no way you can send this out. This looks awful. Like, you're gonna have to change this. Here's the crazy thing. This person was sending it out to who knows how many people, and they're sending it out to top professionals who are where they're at because they're greatly detailed. And they had no idea, but they were shooting themselves in the foot every single time they sent that thing out because they were protruding that they were not detailed, they did not pay attention to those things, and that they couldn't spell, all in one big thing. We're talking about a $100,000 a year person, great, competent person, in my opinion. But their resume said something totally different about them. So let's make sure we don't make those mistakes. So here, let's get started into three things that are going to help you to make your resume great. The first thing is you need to be able to provide statistical information on your resume and on your career and what has made you a great employee. So people love statistics. They love numbers. They love to hear quantitative measures on how you have made them, their company, or whatever better. But when you say that I increased revenue by 50% and put an extra $100,000 a year in extra revenue to our employer or to your employer, you gain attention to that. When you say that you helped all of the employees increase their productivity by 20%, that sounds great. People love statistical analysis, and you need to have it in your resume. You need to be able to pay attention to these things in all of your jobs so you can provide it on your resume. So you need to be able to give your employer some great statistical analysis and give them an idea of what you're going to do for their company in a quantitative way if they were to hire you. And so, I gave you some examples on if you increased revenue, if you increased production, if you increased your line of what you're doing in any shape, way, or form. Do your best to provide some statistical analysis on how you did that. Be able to present that to an employer and not just say what you did, but be able to say what you did really well, what you succeeded in, and it's going to give them and paint them a picture of what you could potentially do for you. So quantitative measures are so important to the best of the best people in writing resumes. So make sure you pay attention to that and get some of that information on your resume. The second thing is spelling. And I just gave you a story about how that really affected somebody. And in that situation, we corrected all the spelling things for them. And I notified them, but I'm not sure if they made those changes or not. I hope that they did. But at the very least, run a spelling check in Word and make sure that your words are spelled correctly, because when they came to us, Word had caught it all, but this person didn't go in there and change it. But it's so very important that you do this. But I would go a step further and get at least 3 good, solid, competent people to read over your resume and make sure that it looks and sounds good to them. Make sure that what you are writing makes sense to them. Make sure that there are no grammatical and spelling errors in your resume, and that it's written well, and that anyone reading it is going to be able to see it, read through it, and go, this is somebody who is competent. If you have spelling errors, you're going to tell everybody that you don't care, that you don't know what you're doing, you're not a top person in your field, and there are going to be so many things that are communicated, and I don't want that to happen to you. So make sure that you get your grammar and spelling errors corrected by not only going through it yourself, but having at least 2 or 3 other people read your resume. Make sure it's great. That's really going to help you on the second point. The third point is you need to be able to communicate clearly what it is that you do, but also what it is that you do well. Let me tell you something about just seeing resumes. Most people are really great at just saying what they do. That's all they do. They give you a bullet point. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. But let me tell you what the great people do. They tell you what they do, and then they tell you how they did it well. Say what they do, they say what they did well. And every bullet point has some type of reference on how they did well, some type of an example of how they did well. And that is going to separate the good from the great, or the bad from the good. So make sure that you are not in the lower category. I want you to escalate yourself and make sure that you say in almost every chance that you get what you did well. Most people won't do this. It'll help you to stand out, and I know it's going to be a great thing for you in your resume. Writing a resume is difficult. It's your very first line of communication to employers. If you get this thing wrong, you're going to spend twice the time trying to find the right job for you and get your foot in the door to be able to get in front of people. Make sure that you do not eliminate your resume as a top priority for you when you're doing your job search. You follow some of this advice and you're going to do great. Great luck.